Welcome to Mani Monday. I'm Beck, an independent GelMoment distributor from Perth, Western Australia. So jumping straight in, I'm using the GelMoment 3D embossing gel, GelMoment cleansers, and GelMoment polish in Beauty Queen, Mandarin Summer, Crazy for Blue, Raspberry XOXO, Amalia, Lemon Meringue, Make Your Mauve, Sensational, and Raven's Kiss and Lovey Dovey. You could also use Meet Me at the Chapel. And then our dotting tools. You'll notice my bottles all look a little bit different. I just use a washi tape around the outside of them to keep them looking nice. And also it helps me to identify which ones are mine when we're sharing polishes at team events and things like that. So what we're doing today is a couple of different techniques to give you a cute comic book manicure. I'm starting off just by doing a base coat of each of those colours on the main fingers of my hands. Main fingers? Who knows? So just a couple of regular gel polish application on each finger. And then my thumbs, I'm just going to do base coats in white and do some designs onto those. So just your normal gel application here, making sure that you cap the tips, that you get a nice clean line around the cuticle, and that you're cleaning up any mess that you make on your hands before you put it under the light, which you'll see me do a couple of times, I think. In this video, I've cut out all of the curing time just to keep things moving along quickly, and you'll notice that I've sped up the video, so there's lots of all the boring bits are cut out. So I'm just doing the base coat here in Lovey Dovey. It's one of those colours that's quite hard to get a nice smooth finish with. So I always do 2 coats, usually 3. You'll see from this first coat, it's quite a thin coat. You can still see brush strokes and you can still see the colour of the nail underneath as well, even after curing. So then I just go ahead and pop another coat straight on the top, trying to be a little bit more careful with this one, but usually, as I said, it does need the 3 coats, I find. And I'm still not happy with the finish there, so what I do is I buff it down to give me a nice flat, smooth surface, just with the buffing side of the file, not the harsh one, and then clean that with a cleanser wipe, wait for it to dry, and then put another coat on the top. This will give you a much smoother finish to the nail and you get that nice opaque white that you're going for. A minute under the lap and that's looking way better. So I'm just wiping down my silicone mat with the alcohol wipe and popping out 8 little dots of white polish. So I'm using Lovey Dovey here, but Meet Me at the Chapel works just as well. My bottle's just nearly empty, so I'm using the Lovey Dovey. And then each of the colours that I've used on the nails, I'm just adding equal parts in a little dot just above the white dot. That way I'm less likely to contaminate my polishes. And that's easy to mix them. You can see that I dropped some there, and so I've just cleaned it up with the dotting tool. You don't need to mix all your colours all at once as well, but I've decided to do that with this video. And also, because I dropped that blue, swapped the order of the colours that I'm mixing there so that the yellow had a nice clean white to mix into. There we go. So I'll just leave them like that until I'm ready to mix them and apply them to the nails. So then, because I'm Beck, we're doing polka dots. So we just mix the 2 colours together and that just gives us a nice pastel shade of the same colour without changing the colour too much. And so I'm just starting my polka dot designs. You can see I've been doing polka dots for a while now. So I just have a a pretty simple method that seems to work for me. So I start by putting dots along the centre of the nail in a line, generally leaving about 2 dots worth of space between each dot. And then a line next to that, using the blank space to create a polka dot pattern. And then filling in around the outside edges. Sometimes you need to cheat the edges a little bit, or even just paint straight over the cuticle and clean it up like I did there. Another method that you might find easier is to kind of use the roll the dice method, where you start with the pattern of a 5 on the nail and then fill out the rest of the polka dots from there. This is a technique that my mum prefers to use, and it can be helpful for people that find it harder to visualise the patterns and know exactly the spacing to use. Again, just that, the 5 of the side of a dice, and then filling in, continuing the pattern outward to the edge of the nail. How good are those colours looking? And then you can just clean up with a clean tool any dots that have gone a little bit too wonky. And then do the same on the other side. Mix, mix, mix. Now, this is always the harder bit. It's your non-dominant hand. Sometimes it's easier to hold your hand like this and look at the nail from this angle. And other times, when you might be working on the other side of the nail, it's easier to put it down on the table. Little hints that help with working on your non-dominant hand, or working with your non-dominant hand, is to make sure that you've anchored your elbows to the table or the surface that you're working on. Basically, have as much control as you can so that the movements that you're needing to make are really, really small. Whether that's moving the non-dominant hand to press and make the pattern on the nail, or if it's holding that hand steady and then moving the nail up to meet the brush or the dotting tool. There's a few different ways that you can get the polish onto your bad hand. It's just a matter of finding what works for you. One little tip is to make sure that you remember to breathe. Sometimes when we're concentrating really hard or trying to do some fine detail work, you don't even realise that you're holding your breath. So just take a breath and breathe out before you touch the polish to the nail, and you'll find that your designs are a lot smoother and less shaky. And you'll also find, you've probably noticed me there, swap hands to do the mixing. Don't make things harder for yourself than they need to be. Like, it's nail art. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be fun. So, yeah, doesn't matter if some of your polka dots look a little bit wonky. Life's wonky. There we go. So I've cured that, and now I'm just making a little bit of a brighter yellow. And this is going to go onto my thumb. I'm just kind of making a rough, splotchy sort of pattern here, really. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, but this is a way I often start a lot of my nail art, is just by applying some colour to the nail in a really kind of random way, and then letting that lead me to how the design's going to develop. So being a comic book, I thought one of these sort of pow bam explosion word things would be quite cute to do. So I'm just pushing that polish out into a bit of an explosion star pattern. At this point you don't need to be too fussy with it, really. Just want to make some nice pointy edges. Looking okay, and give that a cure. And on this thumb, I'm going to show you the kind of drippy, blotchy technique. This one looks really good if you do a different colour of drip on each finger, or you can use it as inspiration for a Halloween manicure on a black base with a red dripping. This one here, I've just used the pink on the white. And you just basically start with three dots and then bring them all up together to join to make that drippy pattern. And now we make it a comic book. So using either your 3D gel or your Raven's Kiss, you just do an outline around the outside of the nail. Using the 3D gel, it makes it really quick work. Basically, you just need to apply constant pressure to the bottle so that you get a nice even tube of polish coming out of the tip. You can see me kind of push it down towards the end of the bottle because it's nearly running out. And you want to just kind of let the snake of polish come out of the tip and drop onto the nail. And that'll give you a nice smooth finish. Not very evident here on this polka dot rough base, but on a smooth nail it looks really good. I don't think I would have done this design like this again. I would have done both elements separately, but maybe not together. Or I'd put a coat of Clearly Frisky over the polka dots to give me a more even surface for this finer detail work at the end. But that's part of the joy of nail art. You make it up as you go along and you learn from your mistakes. There's not really any mistakes. It's just nail polish. And it's fun. So whether you're using the 3D gel or just your regular Raven's Kiss, fairly easy, just do an outline around the outside of your nails. And you can use this technique as well for what we'd call sort of a nail contouring. So if you had an extra wide nail that you wanted to make it look a little bit longer or a bit more like the rest of your nails, you can bring the outline in and change the shape slightly. Help to make things look a little bit more consistent, if that's what you'd like. When you start to run out of polish like I am here, if you know you've got your other hand to do, it can be really helpful to just get some more polish out of the bottle. I don't know why I didn't, but you can see me here trying to scrape up every last little bit of polish that I can off of that mat. And I think I did a pretty good job. I really like working on the silicone mat for that reason. You can make a really small amount of polish go a really long way. And actually you can see up in the top right hand side there's some stars. When I'd done my pastel colour mixing, I just made some little patterns on the mat and cured them and then peeled them off like decals. I cut that out of the video because I didn't end up using them in the design that I did. So I might use them another day. And then here we're just adding the little shine lines using the lovey-dovey, following that little curve of the nail and doing the same positioning on each nail so that it looks like you've got one light source coming in. And there you go, easy comic book nails. I'm just cleaning up one of those nails there where the polka dot made the white polish go a little bit wonky. Because I'd cured the other bits, you can just wipe that straight off and put some more on. And then here we go with the thumb. I'm just going to rest on that bottle because it was a bit awkward to hold my hand in that position for the camera. And using that same technique with the dotting tool, just kind of making little lines, just outlining that shape. So you can see you didn't need to be too fussy with the shape underneath because you can really decide where the lines go when you're doing your outline. I find it much easier to do the base colour first and then do my outline rather than drawing an outline and then colouring in the shape. It also means that your outline stands out a bit more that way as well. One thing to keep in mind when you're writing letters is to make sure that you write any open spaces like your P's and your O's leaving a little bit more space for the gap in the middle of the letter than you would normally, in case the polish runs a little bit. And that's it, your comic book manicure. Want to know more? Find me on social at GelMoment by Beck.